Hi friends, and welcome to another video. Today is going to be another kind of sit down chat, and I am going to tell you about 5 holiday reads that I actually read within the past week or so, and whether you should pick them up or leave them be. I thought it'd be a really fun chat, especially since Christmas is, I think, just like a week away now at this point, which is wild to me. But I also wanted to do kind of a chiller sit down chat because I am about to actually head home to visit family tomorrow, and it's just been kind of a busy day packing. So I thought this would be kind of just like a fun way to spend some time together and chat about some books. Alright, so the 5 holiday reads that I read during this holiday season was Love Light Farms, The Holiday Trap, Window Shopping, A Merry Little Meet Cute, and Just Like Magic. Some of these I loved, some of these I hated, and some of them I kind of just felt like it was okay about. So I'm going to actually start off with my least favorite of these books, and then I'm going to work my way up to my favorite of all of these books, which I'm very excited to tell you about. But first things first, let's talk about my least favorite read of these holiday reads. So my least favorite read was Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I know people absolutely loved this book. I know people adore Tessa Bailey. I could not get into this at all, and I rated it 2 stars out of 5. Honestly, there wasn't enough of the book to really make the relationship seem realistic. It really seemed like an insta-love type of thing, which I'm not a huge fan of. It also just felt a little cheesy, and a lot of the characters were so stereotypical. I didn't like them, you know, like they were such a, they were the trope, right? You have the dark, brooding, handsome man who's super, you know, like festive but has like a dark side or whatever, and you have the best friend, and you have all these different characters. It seemed very stereotypical. The plot didn't seem very developed. The relationship didn't seem developed at all. The one thing I really liked about this book was the main character, but unfortunately her arc and her growth was overshadowed by this relationship that didn't have any merit to it. It just felt kind of weird. Wasn't a fan. Also, it was a workplace romance between a employer and an employee, and if you don't know, there's been some recent current events where that had recently happened with a big media company. And so I just felt kind of icky while reading it, you know, like the relationship wasn't even good to begin with, so to add that additional layer just wasn't great. So I don't recommend reading this unless you are into a workplace romance type deal and you want like a holiday version of that. Otherwise, I feel like I would just skip this one. All right, so the next book is a little bit better. I think probably quite a bit better than Window Shopping, but it has some serious issues that I want to chat about, and it's actually a book that I finished today, which is Just Like Magic. Now, if you don't know, I actually recently said that this was one of the worst books I've ever read, and that was because in the first 100 pages, the main character is the most unlikable, unlovable person ever that I've ever read, and what makes this difficult is Betty, this main character, goes through a big transformation. She falls in love. It's really a very sweet story. It has like mystical qualities, which I love about it, but it also, like, the relationship does feel real, and the familial relationships feel real and earned, and I loved that. But unfortunately, again, the first 100 pages, I despised Betty with every fiber of my being. There was nothing pushing me forward in the book to want me to read about her getting better, because it didn't seem like that was ever an option for her. The only reason that there was like a slight possibility of her getting better was Hall, the kind of love interest, but unfortunately at times that was not enough. It's hard to read from a first-person perspective of someone you just don't want to hear anything from. It just made it extremely difficult to get into the book, to fall in love with the characters, and the other thing is the first half of the book is so pumped full of pop culture references. I felt like I was hardly reading a book sometimes, and just like reading almost like a walking advertisement for things, which I don't love. So this book had some pros and cons. I think I would rate it 3 stars, a solid 3 stars. I feel like I definitely think there's some things that could have been a lot better, and it just didn't quite hit the mark for me. However, the story is really adorable, and once you get over that first 100 pages, it actually gets really enjoyable, and you really do get to fall in love with these characters. And I love the kind of relearning Christmas as a family, as when you're older. I feel like when families get older, when kids are adults, it becomes harder and harder to do Christmas the right way, or to kind of have that holiday magic. So I feel like this was a really good way of exploring that, with obviously the added romance in there. And also, if you are not a fan of spice in your romance books, I feel like this is a great one for you. It really did an excellent job at still building a relationship without having those scenes. So pros and cons. But I would definitely give this, a solid 3 stars. I would recommend it for people who don't like spice, but yeah, that's about it. All right, so the next book we're gonna chat about is slightly better, I think, than Just Like Magic, slightly, and that's A Merry Little Meet Cute. This book was difficult for me. I loved the setting, I loved the scenes, I really did enjoy B, which was one of the main characters. I did enjoy the 2 point of views. I do love when romance novels give you both perspectives. I think it was really well done. However, with Nolan's writing and characterization, it just felt extremely one-dimensional. He felt, and I think I've said this before, kind of like a Zane personification. Like it was like a Zane Walmart version. So it kind of felt like fanficky in a way, and not in a good way, because again, I've read fanfics that are amazing. This was kind of like the stereotypical bad fanfic, which wasn't amazing. I didn't love that. There was also some things that it kind of felt the authors were adding in things just to say that their book covered this representation. There were some characters that didn't really get a lot of love, and it felt like they were just put in the book just to add a different ounce of representation, which I don't love when books do that. Like, if you are going to market that your book has representation, you have to give those characters more thought and more time in your book, there were some things that just bothered me. However, I absolutely loved B as the main character. She was incredible. Her wants and desires and the things that were kind of propelling her forward in the novel were great. It made sense. I thought she was fantastic. I thought some of the characters connected with her were fantastic. I loved her friends. And also, if you are looking for like a holiday romance with spice scenes, I would recommend this one. I feel like it does a good job at doing those. Can be a little bit much, I'm not gonna lie, but it's there if you enjoy those things. So I would give this one, again, kind of like a solid 3 stars. It just barely beat out Just Like Magic for me. I think that was because I actually got into this book within the first couple of pages, where it took me 100 pages to get into Just Like Magic, so there's kind of like your comparison there. But both are pretty decent, okay books to read during the holidays. I feel like they both kind of have that hallmarky romance vibe to them, which is kind of fun, but not my favorite. Alright, so we're kind of getting into the top tier category of holiday romances that I read this year. These two are very, very close winners to me. One edges out the other barely, but I'm going to talk about the second place winner first, and then I will talk about my favorite holiday read of the year. So the second place book is Love Light Farms. I was not expecting to like this book as much as I did. Like, truly, I definitely thought there were some things that felt a little off at the beginning, but the more I read, like, into the second and third chapter, I was invested. I absolutely loved it. I listened, so I was actually listening to the audiobook, and I listened to it all in one day, which, it was a 10-hour audiobook. So if that tells you anything, I was literally like entranced for that long just listening to this book. It was great. The romance was very, very sweet. I loved how she did friends to lovers. I think it made sense. There were some things that the characters did that were very frustrating for me, and it was like, why? Why would you ever think that? But, you know, it's a romance novel. You kind of have to have some of that drama in there for it to be like really good or really feel like a Hallmark Christmas movie vibe, you know? So there were some things that I felt like we could have done without, and it would have been fine, but I think it was just an overall really great, fun read, and it truly got me into the Christmas spirit in a good way. The story takes place on a little Christmas tree farm that's struggling, and the main character is trying to really save her company while also having like a fake dating thing with her best friend in order to impress this influencer that comes to potentially save her Christmas tree farm. It's adorable. I love the premise. Everything about it just feels real. The characters feel real. It's very heartwarming and soft and nice, and yeah, I loved it. I gave this 4 stars, again, for those little dramatic things that the characters did at the end that I wasn't a huge fan of. But other than that, loved this read. Highly recommend if you are looking for like a last minute holiday read for this week. And I highly recommend the audiobook. It's great. She did a wonderful job narrating. All right, and my favorite holiday read of the year was The Holiday Trap. Again, this was a book I wasn't expecting to love as much as I did, but it was really, really good and very well written, which just shocked me. Basically, the premise is the holiday in a book form. So these 2 main characters that you switch between their point of views house swap to different parts of the country. One is in New Orleans and the other is in like a cozy town in Maine. And it's very, very sweet. I love how the author in this actually took the 2 stories and 2 romances and different perspectives, and really allowed 2 stories to be told. One was definitely like your slow burn romance story, which I personally really, really love, and it kind of had the warm, like fluttery feelings of like, oh, does this person like me or not? Am I pressing too far? It was very sweet, very wholesome, very cute. The other side of the house swap, with the main character Greta, actually deals more with kind of relationship problems, things that might come up during the holidays, things that come up when you're really getting to know someone. And I also love that her story was more of a coming of age of sorts, learning that it's okay to kind of go out on your own and not do everything that your family might want you to do, to take a different path and be okay with that and be okay with choosing that. I really felt seen with Greta's character, and I feel like a lot of people would feel that way as well. Just, you know, coming into your own and becoming an adult. I loved it. I loved both stories. They were very cute. Both romances had their, you know, high highs, low lows, but it just felt real. It felt earned. Every character's kind of arc felt natural. Everything about it was incredible. And again, Rowan Parrish, the author, is just an incredible writer. It's just a well-written book, which I can't say about some of these other ones. So that was just extremely impressive to me, because I do feel like at times romance novels are treated differently. Like they're treated like, yeah, it's okay if the writing's not amazing as long as this exists, and I don't think that should be the case. So this was just a really nice surprise. There was a few things in the novel that kind of threw me off. So this is another 4-star read for me. However, it's a very high 4 stars, if that makes sense, like a 4.5. But yeah, I absolutely loved The Holiday Trap. If you are looking for a holiday read, I highly recommend choosing that, because it's amazing, cozy, and also, you know, real in a good way. And it's the one holiday read that I feel like I could read again every year and just kind of gain some more feelings from it, and it could be like a holiday rewatch of sorts. So I'm excited to read it again next year when this season kind of comes around. I just think it's a great read. If you want to chat with me more about The Holiday Trap, I'm actually going to be talking about it with some friends and with some of you guys in January during our book club meeting. So if you'd like to join, that link's always down below in the description, and it's free. We are going to be switching to a kind of nicer app, which I'm excited about, which that'll be just a fun time. Either way, I am super excited to kind of hear about y'all's thoughts about The Holiday Trap, and to also just chat more about specifics of the book, because I don't want to spoil anything here, but it was 100% my favorite holiday read of 2022. Alright, so I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I know I've been kind of doing a bunch of sit-down videos recently, but I've just been kind of overwhelmed. It is kind of getting to the end of Vlogmas, and I'm a little bit burnt out, but not to worry, I'm definitely gonna make it to the end. I have some exciting vlogs coming up with my family and with things that we're going to be doing down in St. Louis. So I'm really, really excited. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!